Okay, let's get started. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Joe Patton. I'm here with Annette Norris, a friend of mine, a social worker. Let me first of all just introduce myself. I'm the senior partner at Patton and Patton law firm. And if you got any questions about this interview or questions about the stay-at-home order or anything, you can reach me at joe@joepatton.com. And wanted to interview Annette a little bit to help my clients and then anyone else that would be interested about some of the fears and worries and anxieties that we're all facing with this stay-at-home situation. So thanks for doing this, Annette.
Sure. Thanks for inviting me.
I was looking at your webpage, which is what? christfirstcounseling.com/Annette-Norris, right?
Right.
And right there is your photograph and a quote from Star Wars.
Absolutely.
I'm more of a Star Trek fan myself, you know.
Well, you got to be ambidextrous here. You got to be able to do a little bit of both.
Yeah. Okay. And for those of you that don't know, I've known Annette for a long, long time. We've gone to church together, and quite frankly, every time I have issues involving my emotions or mental health, I call Annette, and she helps me out a lot. And you've just been wonderful. On your webpage, you say you're a Christian. That's not just a label. You're a social worker. I assume that's not just a label. And also you talked about blending evidence-based approaches. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, there's a lot of research. There's a lot of techniques that you don't, if you're really going to help somebody, you help them based on not just kind of by the seat of your pants, but by techniques that have been proven through research and like cognitive behavioral therapy. I use a little bit of that. There's a lot of research and evidence-based that says that's valid. I use EMDR, which is an eye movement type of therapy for trauma. That's been researched up one side and down the other. So it's evidence-based means that there is a place we could go that says this technique works for this problem. So okay. I take a lot and blend those.
So you're just going to make this up and flying by the seat of your pants.
I'm trying not to.
And I noticed down at the webpage you said you specialize in anxiety and depression, and I thought, well, and that's the person we need to be talking to.
Okay.
But let me kind of describe a situation to you. With the stay-at-home order, I've been calling my clients, talking to them. My staff has been working from home, but we still have clients that have to come in, pick up checks, things like that. So I'm at the office, and it's a little quiet here.
Yeah.
But I have reached out to my clients, calling them. And one of the things I noticed right at the beginning of the stay-at-home, everybody's kind of upbeat, and we're going to deal with this. But lately, I've been seeing a different kind of a change. I won't mention any names or details, but you know, one particular client was thinking up a hypothetical in her case. It probably would never happen. And so I would answer that, and then she would come up with another one that was even less likely to happen. And I answer that, but it seemed like each time I would have an explanation, it wasn't really helping. The anxiety, the fear, whatever it is, the emotions were increasingly ranked up as I'm talking about solutions. So I'm thinking that with some anxiety and worry, there's something going on here. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. Can you help us put some labels on what we're feeling?
Okay. Well, that's an important thing because there's a process when we have a feeling. The process that goes on in our brain is that we have a thought. The garbage truck just drove by. The cat's in the room. Those are thoughts. They don't have any feelings attached to them. But if I have a belief attached to that thought, then that belief's going to create a feeling. So if I'm able to change the thought, I'm able to change the feeling. What it sounds like your person is dealing with is what we would call a cognitive distortion. And there's a whole list of them, but the one that she's doing is that hypothetical worry. Now, worry is normal. Worry is just what we do, but there's a time where
some of us do more than others.
There's a time where worry goes too much, and it becomes, we get into, I call it fretting. And you can actually watch people do this. That's when worry's gone wild. And hypothetical worry is where you're worrying about stuff that is way out of your control. Practical worry is something you can control, something specific. And we have a lot of things that, you watch the news, and there can be a lot of things, create scenarios. They give us a lot of stuff to worry about.
Well, I bet they do, yeah. And so what you're saying is that it's kind of a normal process, but sometimes we can get out of control with it.
Right.
And so all of us have been trying to distract ourselves with watching TV and Netflix, and there's only so many reruns we can we can watch.
Right.
So let's say this mood or emotions, what are we going to call it? Anxiety or worry, or just what's the word for it?
Well, it falls under the category of anxiety.
Okay.
But it's different. That's a broad category. It's faulty thinking is what it is.
Okay, well, let's call it anxiety that gets out of control.
Okay.
Give us some tools, some ideas. What can we do with it other than, I mean, you can only watch so many Netflix, right?
Right.
So.
Right. And don't watch Pandemic. Don't watch Outbreak. Just be careful.
Okay.
So one suggestion is to identify those things that are in your control and those things that are outside your control.
Right.
Draw a circle on a piece of paper, and inside you put the things that are in your control. Like, I can find the latest information that's appropriate, that I want to know. I can focus on what's appropriate to me. I can use relaxation techniques. I can call somebody. I can eat healthy. I can exercise. I can vote next time it's time to vote. Those are things that are within my control. The thing that's outside of my control is on the outside of the circle. And that's stuff like what the government's doing, or what so-and-so says, or how somebody else is reacting, or the fact that I'm aging, or the fact that there's too much traffic or pollution. I mean, that's outside of my control. That's gonna create more anxiety. So I'm kind of like the old mule. I put my blinders on and I look at what I can control.
So control what you can control and focus on that. And those kind of thoughts then change the emotions that we have to deal with. Is that kind of like just happy talk, make believe, pretending?
It's more like I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. I believe that God equips us. So he equips us to cross the bridge, but I'm still 5 blocks back. So I'm not equipped yet. And I'm worried about how I'm going to get over that bridge. But when I get there, I will be equipped. And I've now wasted 5 blocks of worry. So it's retraining yourself to stay in the moment. Deal with what I do know. What are the facts? That I can handle. I don't know what's going to happen.
How does your faith play into that?
That's been interesting because it plays into it all the time, until something happens to you.
I have lots of faith,
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, what do I believe?
Yeah.
Where are you? What is happening? And then then I have to evaluate that and bring it back into my life to say, this is what I know. In the moment, though, my emotions are my emotions. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling overwhelmed. Those are reasonable reactions.
So you're saying we should pretend like we don't have the emotions, or do
Oh,
we?
no. No, you feel what you feel. And you let yourself feel that. And then you take those emotions to God. I'm overwhelmed right now, Lord. I don't know what to do. I don't know how this is going to work. But I'm going to give that to you, and I'm okay with feeling what I feel. Don't shame yourself because you're having anxiety.
Yeah, feeling bad about feeling bad kind of makes it worse.
Right, right.
So part of it is a mental discipline where you begin to realize what's going on, using some tools to control what you can control, and then, expanding your faith beyond just kind of the Sunday school lesson of faith, and really realizing that it's a real thing, and going to prayer and beginning to make it real for you.
Right.
Would that be fair?
Yeah. I had an interesting experience. I watch a lot of sports, so there's been a commercial on, and the end of the commercial, Deion Sanders tells me, "You're going to be all right, baby. You're going to be all right." And I thought, why do I believe him more than I believe God?
There you go. Yeah. I remember as a young lawyer, I would get all cranked up about going into the courtroom. Finally, I had an associate grab me by the shoulders and look at me and says, "Joe, they can't eat you." Okay. Well, is there a point where some danger signals, is there a point where someone should pick up the phone and call a professional, seek emergency help? What are the danger signs? If I see a family member, what should I be watching out for when this is something more than what we can deal with at home? When do we bring in some professional help?
I think when somebody gets into that thought rumination pattern, and that's those thought loops, and they can't get out of it, that doesn't, family members get frustrated with that. So sometimes having an outside person, we're going to challenge your thinking, we're going to see where that's coming from, and a family member isn't always able to do that. If you're having physical symptoms, to its extreme, panic feels and looks an awful lot like a heart episode. And it's often heart episodes are misdiagnosed. So if you're having shortness of breath, pressure on the chest, those kind of experiences, you need to go to the emergency room and have that ruled out. But if you have that commonly, then you know this is probably anxiety, and then you have an anxiety plan, and you work your plan. So family members, all they have to do is remind them, where did you write that plan down? Because that should be, all you should have to do is know where the card is that you've written the plan on.
Sure. Okay.
And then coaching them through, are you breathing? It's always a good idea to breathe.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think this has been really helpful. And if folks have additional questions, shoot them to me at joe@joepatton.com. If it's a legal question, I'll be glad to help. If it's in the mental health issue, you can find Annette by going to her webpage. And I just Googled Annette Norris and it popped right up there right at the top. So,
okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay.
And we'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.